we know all the changes that have come to hero specs. There's been quite a lot of them. I mean, this week's reset was all about hero specs. There are a list here of 5 of the most popular hero specs in Season 1. I've been seeing a lot of good Hunter ones. Death Knight obviously has some really cool ones with the Riders of the Apocalypse, Paladin too. Let's see what some of the 5 best hero specs are right now in Season 1.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and the Season 1 content of the War Within expansion has been going on for the last couple of weeks.
You can bring
and the class meta has definitely started to stabilize, and we've been able to see which of the playstyles are able to stand apart from the crowd. So far, I've been able to highlight some of those classes, but today I really wanted to highlight some of the most popular hero spec options, a new addition of how our characters get to progress and grow stronger within the expansion of the War
Hero
Within.
spec and
every class has access to 2 hero specs, which are almost like a subspec of your chosen class. And if you haven't played some of these more popular choices, then you definitely should. Plus, with the 20th anniversary, we got even more reasons for you to level some brand new characters, which we've been able to recently cover over on this channel if you're looking to pick up some brand new alts. And if you do end up leveling some new characters, you might as well enjoy the top 5 most played and the most popular hero spec options of the Season 1 of War Within, which I'm going to cover in today's video. As always, if you guys want to see more videos like these for the War Within expansion, be sure to follow the channel and
most
subscribe.
played probably means
but
best.
Otherwise, let's dive into today's list.
Let's be honest.
So in no particular order, let's start off with the Herald of the Sun, which is definitely one of the more popular hero options by far that is shared between the Holy Paladins and Retribution Paladins alike. The actual thematics of Herald of the Sun are that of Paladins that have developed a bond with the sun and use its light to burn away their foes and cauterize their allies' wounds. Their main primary ability that sets them apart from others is the ability of Eternal Flame, which replaces your Word of Glory, providing instant healing but also some healing over time components and allowing that healing of Eternal Flame to be more effective when cast on yourself. Their special mechanic is going to be Dawnlight, where when using certain special or spec-specific abilities, allows them to apply a strong, either a damage over time or a healing over time effect to their targets. And a portion of that Dawnlight that radiates off of that target will heal or damage nearby foes. This allows both Holy Paladins and Retribution Paladins to explore some healing over time or damage over time mechanics. The damage over time and healing over time components allow Paladins to utilize certain talents that actually play off of those effects specifically, which allows the class to become more focused around this damage over time consistency. Also, the Capstone of Sun's Avatar allows them, when using Avenging Wrath, to be linked to all targets that have dawn lights on them, causing a radiant damage or healing to any targets that stand between those linked beams of light, which means that positionals now become a lot more important for this type of paladin, because during Avenging Wrath you now create these links, and depending on how you position yourself, these links can either deal damage to foes or heal allies. And these links from Avenging Wrath allow you to set up some high burst or high group-wide healing situations, while also increasing Dawnlight's duration by 20%. Overall, the playstyle of Herald of the Sun is numerically more significant than the alternative options for both Retribution and Holy Paladin, at least as of this current moment. Herald of the Sun as a hero spec is also very easy to use, as it allows you to gain more passive bonuses as you play your Paladin and doesn't really change up your rotation or gameplay too much. Paladins could also go further to amplify the effectiveness of Herald of the Sun, especially its capstone bonus of Sun's Avatar, like Retribution could spec either into Crusade for a slightly longer duration of Avenging Wrath, but with a longer cooldown.
Is anyone out there playing Herald of the Sun in chat right now? I actually didn't know any of this stuff about Herald of the Sun, that it's very much build up over time, single target-ish. I mean, I've seen Paladins pump really hard, but I don't know if they're running Herald of the Sun.
1 minute CT of Avenging Wrath with a 20 second
a
duration,
lot of you guys are,
or to go even shorter to use
like
Avenging Wrath every 30 seconds together with Wake of Ashes, which could also trigger additional procs of Avenging Wrath outside of major cooldowns that allows them to fully harness the power of Herald of the Sun. Holy Paladins do not have nearly as much flexibility as Retribution when it comes to the Herald. For the most part, they'll be playing around a 2-minute strict window of Avenging Wrath. However, with the talent of Awakening, while in combat as they spend a Holy Power, they generate stacks of Awakening. And after a few stacks of Awakening, their next Judgment will deal additional damage and will proc Avenging Wrath for 12 seconds, which allows them to get more out of Herald of the Sun to use it in between of their strict 2-minute burst cooldown. Then we have the class of Mage, where both Arcane and Fire have fully embraced the Sun Fury playstyle.
Easily the best right now. This is probably the best in the game. Sun Fury, playing whether you're Arcane or Fire, probably the best spec running in the game, highest DPS right now.
With Sun Fury, you get to channel your inner Kael'thas Sunstrider, where you focus on harnessing the raw power
and the lore is
of
badass. I mean, Kael'thas, come on.
and can even call upon a spell Fire Phoenix to aid you in combat. All Sun Fury mages get to summon an Arcane Phoenix whenever you use abilities such as Combustion or Arcane Surge, which summons...
Fun fact, you see these little orbs up here, guys? You see these little orbs? This actually was redone to better fit the lore. If you notice now, you see how there's fire inside of what looks like an arcane ring? That's because mages don't actually bend the elements. That's right, only shamans can actually control fire itself. A mage can't do that. A fire mage or a frost mage is not actually controlling the elements of fire or frost. They are using arcane magic to basically harness fire or frost and use it. So that's why there is fire inside of an arcane orb, because the mage is just using arcane magic to control the fire. Yeah, little lore dip for you there.
Abilities such as Combustion or Arcane Surge, which summons a very, very powerful pet to help you in combat, which deals a significant amount of his own personal damage. That can be both
all mages are
focus
arcane
or even
mages.
single target focus, depending on the encounter. Outside of the Phoenix, the basic gameplay of Sun Fury is to generate as many Spellfire spheres as possible, which you get to do through basic combat gameplay that fits both Fire Mage and the Arcane Mage playstyles. As you generate those Spellfire spheres, you get to enhance your basic abilities with things such as Burden of Power, as well as Glorious Incandescence. And as you generate more Spellfire spheres, it actually gets to fuel your Phoenix further by increasing the potency of that Phoenix and extending its duration to be out a little bit longer in combat. Sun Fury, for the most part, is a very, very easy to use hero spec that simply amplifies all of your basic combat abilities. The Phoenix itself is a very highly potent combat pet
DJ.
That's been really ironed out to be as accurate and efficient as possible. Previously, back during beta and alpha of this expansion, it used to be very, very sporadic, hitting any random targets, but ever since the live realms, they really got it to be more focused to make sure that it always strikes your priority target, and it's an easy
I also gotta say, with all the anime, I think Mage has some of the coolest animations in the game. I think Mage and Shaman probably have some of the coolest animation spells in the game right now, since everything's been reworked a little bit with new animations and stuff like that. I mean, just watching it play, the things look really cool on the screen
to manage, unlike some of the other pet-based classes.
Paladin's
that we
got
have
some
in
good
WoW.
ones too.
Also, the capstone of Sun Fury is incredibly fun and also extremely rewarding. When the Phoenix fades, you get granted a buff, either with a Arcane Soul buff or Hypothermia as a Fire Mage. As a buff, it fuels you with an incredible amount of power that allows you to spam some of your strongest abilities.
Damn, that looks fun as hell.
With its duration enhanced the longer the Phoenix was out in combat. The next hero spec on the list is the Fellscarred Demon Hunter, where most Demon Hunters try to contain the demon that is within. The Fellscarred instead embrace that demon entirely, which allows them to amplify their Fellfire to become even more explosive. And Fellscarred focuses on enhancing Demon Hunters at the strongest, enhancing the output of the Metamorphosis abilities. As you transform into a demon, your abilities are now changed and have a more empowered version that causes them to erupt with additional fire damage.
Nice.
And this effect is further enhanced with the capstone that adds even more abilities into that empowerment list. And that AoE eruption in particular allows Demon Hunters to have an edge above other classes to some degree, because this Demon Surge damage does not have a target cap, where so many WoW abilities have a target cap.
Did they change
or even
this?
A soft cap.
Did this get changed yet? I feel like this is going to get nerfed if it hasn't gotten nerfed. But yeah, no cap. This is basically like going back to the Legion days of like massive big dick AoE pulls where there's no cap and you just burn everything down. That's pretty crazy if this is still the case.
This is the only, or one of the few abilities in the game that actually is just completely uncapped.
It's one of the coolest ones, no cap.
Deal a ton of AoE damage without any limitations whatsoever. Also, Fellscarred fuels Metamorphosis windows even further, because when you do use Metamorphosis, certain ability cooldowns are completely reset, which means that Fellscarred Demon Hunters get to go all out with their cooldowns at all times, and are no longer contained by having to hold cooldowns back for specific moments. Instead, you are encouraged to just put things on cooldown as often and early as possible, because you're going to get all of these abilities again for the next time when you transform into that demonic form.
Nice.
And visually, the actual Metamorphosis transformation isn't all that different, but the use of all of these abilities that has this fell eruption around it does look definitely very, very striking.
Blizzard should have done something better with that. I feel like a Fellscarred Metamorphosis should have looked even more demony, more spikes or something like that. It would have been really cool. That's a Missed
What helps
opportunity.
make Felskoe Demon Hunters popular and effective is just how easy they are to play, since it mostly focuses on empowering the metamorphosis, which is when Demon Hunters are at their strongest. So it amplifies you during the best moments of your Demon Hunter, whether you play as Vengeance and you're looking to tank, or if you're playing as Havoc looking to unleash the maximum amount of chaos. Another popular hero spec choice is the Stormbringer Shaman, which is often played by Elemental and Enhancement. The Stormbringer Shamans get to fully embrace the lightning and thunder.
Yeah, you become a lightning god. I mean, it's a badass one. I've seen it a lot in the game. Shamans right now, overall, just it's such a good expansion for them.
And can transform their lightning bolts into a powerful ability called a Tempest, which strikes with a lot more damage, deals cleave damage, and has other talents that can play off of it, such as Arc Discharge.
Become Thor, basically.
On top of this, the ability also has got one of the best visuals, but also one of the best sounds behind the actual thunder strike.
Oh, yeah. That does sound good.
Oh, that's satisfying every single time. The Stormbringer playstyle allows you to fully invest into a lightning
Zappy Shaman. This reminds me, this is literally what the Zappy boy from BFA Cinematic, what he should, that's got to be his hero spec, right? That's what he's playing. Because he was lightning up that fucking battlefield. He was a badass, man. We got to see him again. I wonder where he is right now in the game.
Both Enhancement and Elemental, which can empower that playstyle greatly, and because it replaces your lightning bolt,
join normal
it actually gains all the different qualities that can enhance the damage of lightning bolt as well as other nature-based abilities. And the Stormbringer playstyle also helps unlock the unique potential of either of the Shaman specs, such as granting more stacks of Stormkeeper for Elemental, plus regular uses of Conductive Energy by placing lightning rods against the target, which further amplifies all of your nature abilities. As Enhancement, you also gain access to the Lightning Rod playstyle, which isn't a talent that Enhancement normally has access to, which further empowers the damage of your Tempest, Lightning Bolts, and Chain Lightning.
Enhancement right now is one of the best DPS in the game.
But striking enemies with a Tempest also summons additional nature feral spirits, which further grant you more Maelstrom, but also empower all of your nature-based damage and abilities. And the best part about Stormbringer, even though it grants you a new ability of Tempest, it actually fits in comfortably into your rotation, since it just replaces your Lightning Bolt and doesn't require a separate keybind, which makes it much easier to use as Elemental and Enhancement. It has fantastic visuals and a fantastic sound behind the ability, but also a massive potential to roll out some incredibly good damage with the Tempest, especially in AoE situations. But of course, I wanted to save the most popular and the best hero spec choice by far, which is, as of this moment, has the most amount of popularity when it comes to any class spec combination and the hero spec combination in dungeons or raid content, and that is the Deathbringer Death Knight.
Oh,
Deathbringer Death Knights are emissary of death that derive a lot of the power from the Shadowlands.
That's right.
Which is an expansion, had mixed reception, but as a zone with thematic components behind it, it is full of that Reaper Death Knight flavor behind it. As for the thematics, it doesn't really do much for the Spec of Frost, but for Unholy, it does change the blood bolt.
I don't play Unholy. I play it as a Blood DK, and yeah, the Scythe animation is cool, and it does feel really good.
Power from the Shadowlands instead of from the Sanguine Arts, so it gives it more of a blue hue that derives it from the Undeath, or rather the Realm of Undeath, rather than from the blood magic that fuels a lot of the Blood Death Knight based abilities. On its own, the Reaper's Mark is a very easy to use ability that deals plenty of single target, but also can cleave nearby targets with some of the other hero talent components.
It's really good AoE
Defensively,
damage.
Reaper's Mark also leaves the targets reeling that reduces the damage they do to the Death Knight, but combined together with another talent called Ruined Carved Plates, which is incredibly powerful, it provides the Blood Death Knights easy access to a powerful defensive passive that helps to reduce both magic damage as well as physical damage, depending on the resources that they spent, which is something that's a must-have for Blood Death Knights because they already have a couple of different overlapping components, so giving them access to an easy defensive option is something they really needed when it comes to endgame progression. When the Reaper's Mark ability itself detonates, it activates a capstone of Exterminate, which causes your next special attack, depending on your spec, to strike the target with 2 sights. One
it's a cool
target,
animation.
One cleave frontal AoE sight that has a chance to reapply Reaper's Mark back up to the target, which is really where the fun begins when it comes to the Deathbringer playstyle. What really makes it effective is the fact that it's really easy to use as both Frost and Blood. For Frost Death Knight in particular, the ability of Reaper's Mark lines up with your Pillar or Frost windows well, and it grants you an immediate burst as soon as you use the ability. And the reapplications of the Reaper's Mark, the chain upon the target, is where the fun is with the spec. It has a bit of RNG behind it, but every time it chains, you know you're doing plenty of damage every time you get those back-to-back chains. Reaper's Mark and the actual Deathbringer playstyle deal a satisfying amounts of overall burst damage, which is both helpful
it does
for
feel
Frost
good
to
when
take down their enemies
when the
quicker.
scythe pops and you've got a bunch of mobs pulled in like a Mythic Plus or something. It feels really good, and it does a shit ton of
But for
damage.
Blood, it also helps them retain aggros, since in the past expansions, Blood has had issues when it comes to aggro.
Yes, we
if,
have.
Let's say their allies deal way too much damage before a Blood DK can really get ramped up. That can make it harder for them to hold down threat, but Deathbringer solves a lot of those threat problems and ends up being an excellent option.
And one really nice thing is, like, Blood DKs, you typically want to open with Deathbringer now because it does help with aggro. In 11.0.5, it's actually going to give you some Bone Shield. It's going to give you 2 charges of Bone Shield when you pop it. So that's nice because now you don't got to worry about pulling and you don't have Bone Shield up or whatever. You didn't chain pull fast enough so Bone Shield fell off. Now using Deathbringer as your opener will actually be possible.
For both specs of Frost and Blood in the long term. As
Reaper's
always, I
Mark,
do
I
want to
should say,
thank all
as
of you
your
guys so
opener
much
will
for
be
watching,
possible.
and I hope all of you enjoyed. If you did enjoy this video list or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like. I would very much appreciate it. Join our Discord community if you want to continue the discussion regarding hero spec changes, or if you just want to keep up with all the new tuning that's coming out over the next few weeks to hero specs and classes. As always, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
Now we know Sam doesn't. What don't I know about my class? Yeah, nice work. Really nice video from Dalaran here. Yeah, it's a good way to learn about some of these specs for sure. And most popular also probably means most, the biggest dicked specs right now in the game, because people are going to play the ones that do the most damage, of course. And these certainly are. I would say this is a top 5 list, most certainly, of the best hero specs right now in the game.